Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sharon. I'm an addict, and I'm also a child of God. Oh, wow. Hang on, I had money to put in here. The anxiety is fully trying to kick in because, yeah, my disease goes, you ain't got nothing to talk about. And I'm 47-year-old. I've got loads to tell you about this. Loving others as God has loved me, something I don't find very easy because I am selfish, self-centered, and I'm all about me, without a shadow of doubt. But to just give you some background, I come from a very dysfunctional family, lots of violence. Their methods of showing love are not what conventional families do, put it that way. My household, there was always lots of arguing. My dad was a violent drunk. My mum was a workaholic. There was always lots of chaos in my house. My dad would beat my mum, still tell her that he loved her. Even my dad with his siblings, like I used to watch my dad and his brothers fighting, like they would drink at weekends and they would stab each other with screwdrivers. So for me, that was very normal. I grew up with a very distorted perception of what love should look like. Yeah, I know, I forget because they can't hear it. Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, I had a very distorted perception of what love should look like. And I carried that into my adulthood. Even as a child, I was one of them children, very quiet, quite reserved. I learned how to read the room from very young. My dad was very, very aggressive. So it was like walking on eggshells. When he comes in, if you saw the wrinkles in the forehead, you just knew, sit still, don't even blink, just freeze, because you don't want him to catch your attention. As I grew up, I developed the same mannerisms. And because I came from lots of dysfunction, I managed my emotions by taking substances, and I became the very person that I promised myself that I would never become like. I became just like my dad. I hated church because I thought everybody in church was hypocrites. You talk about God is loving, God doesn't punish, but if I say the wrong thing, I'm getting smacked, I'm getting beaten, I'm grounded, you're taking all my best trainers, you're stripping me of anything that I wanted that was good. And I couldn't understand it. I also experienced sexual abuse, and I would think to myself, if this God loves me, why am I going through all this stuff? I would rebel. You couldn't, if you told me I was doing this 2 years ago, I would have told you to, take a running jump, and that's me being very polite. I would not have wanted to hear this. But you see what it is, I really, even though I grew up in church, didn't like it very much because I didn't understand. I have come to learn now that I really did lack knowledge. I was disrespectful to everybody. People would try to help me, and everything to me was a fight. I'm one of them people, if you look at me the wrong way, I want to get into the ring with you. If I'm wearing a white pair of Nike Air Max and you come and you stand on my trainer, I'm ready to fight you before anything. Really. I was quite hostile, very aggressive, and for me, I thought it was normal. And when I got into relationships with men, I would goad and provoke, because in my mind, if you don't put your hands on me, you don't love me. That's how broken I was. When I had my daughter, our father has a great sense of humor. I could never see any of my behaviors. So he gave me a physical example of my behaviors in the form of my daughter. Now, my daughter doesn't use, but she is ever so much like me. And I don't know about for anyone else in here, have you ever tried to have a fight with yourself? What does that look like? It's impossible. My daughter, when I'm hurt, one of the things I struggled with was communication. If you annoy me, it all comes out in rage. So for me, I found it very hard to say, well, actually, I'm hurt. It would come out in anger. My daughter would tell me some home truth. The first time my daughter told me about how I affected her, because even though I didn't use in front of her, she saw the chaos and the carnage that followed me when the police would come kicking through the door, or when I'm asking my mum for a tenner, she's telling me no, and I wasn't having it. So for me, I'm three people in one. There's little Sharon, who's quite a temper tantrum princess. You know, when she doesn't get her way, she kicks off. Then there's teenage Sharon, who thinks she's the boss, very unruly, doesn't want to hear nothing from no one, don't tell me nothing. And then there's grown-up Sharon, who kind of pauses and thinking, like, maybe not, you know? In those moments when my mum would tell me no, both little Sharon and teenage Sharon will come out and it would be off. You know, I'm ripping radiators off walls. You don't love me. I'm like this because of you. You know, I didn't understand that when my mum's telling me no, because she said it, you know, it's not that I don't want to give you money, Sharon. My greatest fear is I'm going to get a knock on the door and it's going to be a policeman coming to ask me to come and identify your body. When I go to funerals, I picture you in these coffins. All of that went over my head. You're talking nonsense. You don't love me. You know, so for me, if you were saying yes, 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 you love me. Wrong, you know. There were some verses that I read, John 15 talks about, I have loved you as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way that I have loved you. If I wrote a book about my split personalities, I found it hard to live with me. So what I've put my mum, what I put my daughter, what I put my family through, I can't even begin to imagine. I serve a patient God, because regardless of all the things that I've done, he saved me. You know, he saved me and I'm here today. I should be dead. Absolutely. And for me, what that tells me, you know, is try to practice spiritual principles. You know, there's lots of readings in the Bible that talk about loving people regardless of what other people do unto you. When I watched the film the other day of the way Jesus was crucified on the cross, and in that, he had no malice, no anger, I'm venom. You just pinch me the wrong way. I'm good to go. Like, let's have it. Let's have it. And that's clean, you know. What the Bible teaches me is how to show grace. And the reason why I struggled with it a lot is because I struggled to show myself grace. You know, I've done a lot of bad things that don't sit well with my conscience. You know, one of the most soul-destroying things for me was when I started sex working. I felt dirty. I felt unalive. I was spiritually dead, emotionally. I was like an injured animal, if I'm honest. And I developed that mentality, well, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. That became my ethos, to be fair. However, two wrongs don't make a right. You know, 2 Corinthians says, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. It has taken me decades to even talk about prostitution because I've been so ashamed of it. So ashamed of it. That was something that I thought I was going to take to the grave. However, God uses me as a tool today to talk about this publicly, share about it in meetings, I write about it in my step work, and I try to help other women like myself with this information. You know, and in those times where things were happening and I was really angry at God, like, where are you in all this? Because I want to see everything happening now. But God does things in his own time. And when I think about these situations, there was something always telling me, don't do it, Sharon, don't do it. But I'm stubborn. You know, when I become my own God, we're not listening to you. You just wait there and I'll do it. And then I think I've got away with it. Then I get round the corner and then bang, the consequence. Then I'm angry at God. The nerve of me. Today I know that God got me through those situations. Every time. You know, another thing I'm learning as well, you know, when we mistreat other people, we are disrespecting God, because God is the only perfect entity around us. God created everything. Everything. So if I discredit you, that means I'm challenging him. I'm telling him that his work is not good enough. Who am I to say that? Who am I to say that? You know, one of the most recent things that have come up for me, I've got a phone call from someone on Facebook Messenger. Sometimes I hate Facebook, because people just find me. So someone thought it was a brilliant idea to let me know that the man that sexually abused me died recently. I went straight into rage because, for me, I wanted to transfer my emotions into him by kicking off and doing something really spiteful to him because I want him to feel how I feel. So one thing, when I'm hurt by anything, I call it transferal of emotion. I don't have to get you today, but I will plot, plan, and then do something to relieve myself of that. Who am I damaging in all of that? Me. Jesus already died on the cross to absolve me of all of this stuff, so why do I have to continue punishing myself? Resentments are so toxic. Like, it was driving me mad mentally, like physically sick, because I had no empathy for this man. And it was said to me like this: he's passed on. He now has to go and face God. So who am I to judge him? Oh, thank you, Jesus. Yeah, because I would have used on this and gone looking for his kids and gone to start problems there, but I haven't done that today. I'd rather come to church, read my Bible and pray. I want to live, Oh. Philippians 4 talks about, I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it's with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Yeah? I can live with the people around me. I don't need to source any material things. I don't have to put on facades to be anybody that I'm not, to let people into my life. And I've gone through life shutting people out. I'm going to get you before you get me. In that, I have not been able to love people because I was afraid. Today, I'm learning to let down guards bit by bit by bit. It's not something that I find easy because I don't trust people. When I have trusted people in the past, human beings have let me down because they're human, yeah? For me, this teaches me to practice spiritual principles. Another example I give you, my relationship with my dad is a sad state of affairs. My dad continues to drink. He's still very violent and still very set in his ways. He's difficult to communicate with because he's stuck in the past. And when he's stuck in the past, he wants to pull you into it with him. And this is where little Sharon comes alive. She goes back into that scared little girl. Can I move? Can't I move? And it's a horrible place to be in. And then teenage Sharon gets up, like, nah, we're not having that. Let's go over there, pay him a visit, and show him what's what. Now, I've shared openly about this with people who are quite seasoned in this stuff. And they're like, again, you're judging God's work. Where is your compassion in this? And if I'm honest, I find it really hard to show my dad compassion. But he's human just like me, born with flaws. He went through his own stuff, which is why he is the way he is. It's unfortunate that he wasn't the father I wanted him to be in my mind. However, he deserves to live, and it's not my place to punish him, whether I like him or not. And there's a part of me that wants to be very disrespectful, but what prevents me, I was reading this morning, where it talks about, children, obey your parents because you belong to the Lord, for this is the right thing to do. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise. If you honor your father and mother, things will go well for you, and you will have a long life on the earth. I'm the last born of 3 children. Both my brothers put their hands on my parents, and they're no longer here. Now, I don't mean that they died because they put their hands on my parents. I know that they died spiritually before they died physically after doing that. I murder my dad with my heart and my mouth daily, but I pray to God and I ask him to relieve me of that. I have to pray, God, please help me see and hear this man through your ears and not through my pain and my trauma. Because the second he opens his mouth, he takes me there, and it's difficult. However, he's going through whatever he's going through, just like I put my mum through hell. God knows. You know, I gave my mum a rude awakening. She didn't know what crack cocaine was. You know, I'm African. Women don't get arrested, and they don't walk around smoking crack and breaking into people's houses, never mind prostituting. You know? My mum had a stroke as a result of me. Like, I was a lot. I was a lot. My brothers, their addictions took off later on in life, but I started from young, and she couldn't understand what went wrong. And I get it today. You know, today I try to find compassion for her, because in some aspects I feel like she did let me down, because the man that sexually abused me was her boyfriend, and she didn't get rid of him because he was helping her pay the rent, and I was livid. Like, how dare you put this man before me? Yeah, and I made sure that I made her feel the way I felt. However, it just went on and on and on, and God does not want me to live like that, because the person I hurt the most in that was myself. You know, I break myself using drugs, getting drunk, getting arrested, waking up in blackout, often waking up in my own urine, not knowing how I got there. You know, that's not what that's definitely not what God wants for me, you know. Sorry. Yeah, you know, so what the Bible teaches me is to show people grace, show compassion, and learn to love and accept people the way I've been accepted. You know, like I said, I was not the easiest of people to get along with. I can still be that person today. I mean, my daughter reminds me when she calls me Shazbo. Shazbo, that's my alter ego, you know. When she called me Shazbo, I was so offended. Like, who's Shazbo? She went, Mum, have you met yourself? I was like, what are you talking about? And I didn't know what she was talking about. And then until one day, she actually filmed an example of me where I've come home from work, I've stopped going to meetings, stopped doing work, step work. I'm running on self-will, running the show because I became God. And I've gone in the house, I think someone had drunk my last Lucozade. You would have thought someone stole an ounce of crack from me. I flipped. And she's like, Mum, this is you on a good day. And it's like, oh my God, am I that bad? I actually am. You know, me without God, and that was where I went wrong. I had no faith. I had no faith. I will talk about, handing over my will in my life, all of this stuff, but there was no Bible reading, there was definitely no going to church, and there weren't no praying until I'm in trouble. God, please get me out of this. Then I get out, and it's like, peace, thanks, mate. Not even a thanks, mate, like, I did this, and I'm off, you know? And I have to say, living like that is extremely painful for me. My life has changed immensely since I've got out of my own way, and I'm letting him in a day at a time. You know, sometimes I want to take my will back because teenage Sharon wants to be boss. And then grown-up Sharon goes, remember where that takes you, you know? So every day I have to feed my spirit with knowledge from the Bible. You know, I do Bible studies every morning, attend church regularly. I'm in meetings daily. And slowly, surely, things gradually change for me, you know. God works miracles, and he really does. Like, every single one of us in here is a miracle. Because for me, I should have been dead a long time ago. You know, I'm blessed to still have my family. And as a result of me coming to church and praying, my grandchildren are in church. You know, I was just talking to my granddaughter now, and she's like, Nanny, we're doing testimonies on Sunday. She has her own little Bible. You know, my party-going daughter, you know, all over Instagram. She actually goes to church now, and it's like, wow. And that's simply because they've seen me doing something different, and that's coming to church, you know. They're going, everyone's getting their own experiences out, and God knows I've prayed for this, and prayed for this, and he's answering me in his time. I want to see everything now, though. Like, when is it? Where is it? but he answers the prayers, and I'm so grateful for that. But anyway, I'm drying out, so I'm going to leave it there. Is that all right? Thank you.